Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We're so excited to be here to have another awesome conversation to continue this book, The 48 Laws of Power. Today we'll be speaking about Law 13 and Law 14. We're going to go into dialogue, speak about these tactics and how a regular person or, the regular, Sarah or Kate can use these techniques in their everyday lives. We're very excited. Please, guys, if you haven't, like this video, share it, comment down below. We would really appreciate it. Come join us, guys. Thank you. Come join us. I can't believe that it's already been like we're already on Law 13 and 14. I think we're
Yeah, bro. We're
we're
almost
10
half. We're not halfway, but
we're
we're
10
ten.
away from
Yeah,
being halfway. Yeah.
which is
Um
crazy.
I remember like it was yesterday that we just started this book.
Technically, um, like we're doing two chapters an episode. Basically,
Yeah.
it would take 24 weeks, which is which is pretty good. It's half a year, but
Listen, for this book it's worth it, right?
yes, 100%, 100%.
Okay, so let's start with Law 13. I'm gonna read the law and the judgment, and I'm gonna throw it
Okay,
at you. And I think the most important thing, or like what I like to hear, or like when I'm asking you, is what are you taking from this?
okay.
Right? Like, right, what are you taking and from what parts, and how are you applying in your everyday lives, or how can someone else apply them at work or like in their relationships, right? So Law 13 is when asking for help, Aaron, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. And the judgment says, which is page 95 of the book,
hmm
if you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him and emphasize it of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. Okay. Um, there's so much to talk about this, like the psychology
Yes.
behind it and the stories. So, but what are a couple points that when you read this chapter really stood out to you and why?
What stood out to me a lot, especially the judgment and reading the chapter, was basically
Hmm.
the author's trying to. I feel like he's trying to tell us that most of us are selfish, right?
Yes, yes,
We have a lot of self-interest in helping our situation, right?
which is true.
Right, which is true to an extent. It's true, some more than others, but if you want to be able to reach somebody in a sense or ask somebody for their help, he's basically talking about in this law a strategy instead of making them feel like, oh, remember I did this for you, I
Mm-hmm.
did this for that, right? Is where in a sense you start taking out somewhat of the past
Mm-hmm.
on someone instead of doing it that way as if that person were to owe you. You appeal to something that could continue to benefit them as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because and that's the truth with everyday life, right? Or with relationships, friendships, and stuff like that. When I, at least me personally, I don't know about you,
Mm-hmm.
Elders, but if someone has helped me in the past and now they need my help and they start bringing up what they did for me, it's kind of like, okay, so maybe did you not do it genuinely or not? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you trying to bring something out? Like now I owe you. I didn't know we had this whole pamphlet or this whole, this whole list of I owe you, you owe me, or one for one, right? We're
Yeah.
just I thought we just helping each other out, right? Just because you want to, or you feel desire to. But I do understand where he's coming from, where we're selfish. So one of the best ways to get to somebody, I assume, especially if you don't have a relationship with them, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
someone is strange or someone you happen to work with, if you need that someone's help because of their power or obtain something,
Mm-hmm.
then you must be able to benefit them as well, right? If
Mm-hmm.
their main thing is to grow financially or their portfolio in real estate or something like that, then you have to be able to, whatever help that you're asking for, to be able to, you know, seek not seek, sorry, to be able to implement some type of success towards them as well,
Mm.
for them to grow. Um, and one thing that I loved about this chapter, it's in the keys to power.
Okay. What page?
I
98?
uh hold up, shall we go? I believe it's page 99.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, page 98 as well, because it does start off saying, in your quest for power, you will constantly find yourself in the position of asking for help for those more powerful than you. And there's an art to that, right? A lot of people won't be able to understand that type of art because it depends on your ability to understand the person you are dealing with and do not confuse your needs with theirs, right?
Mm.
Which is true because a lot of us are trapped in our own desires. And one of the questions that they asked in page 99, it says, in paragraph 3, it says a key step in the process is to understand the other person's psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Is he vain? Is he concerned about his reputation or his social standing? Does he have enemies you could help him vanquish? Is he simply motivated by money and power?
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to use this law to your success is to be able to understand where the other person that you need help from, where are they coming from,
Mm.
right? Um, and basically their psychology, what motivates them, what's going to push them forward that can help you push forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's kind of what
Like the
I
gist
took
of
for
it.
the gist that I took from this chapter. It depends, I guess. This works mostly on people that what was the word, oh, that appeal to greed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are greedy people that want more.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, if you want to be able to use this specific law successfully with people, then you have to use it with people that's, that have that, because um it also describes how self-interest is a type of lever that is gonna move people, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It is gonna want, because you're able to help them, they'll be more than happy to help you, basically.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
So that's kind of what I took from this chapter. Mostly it has to do with a lot of self-interest and being selfish to your own goal. But in a sense, if not you yourself be selfish, but if you want to be able to get help from somebody, you have to make sure their self-interest comes first before yours.
Mm. And that's all true. I agree with that. Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of what I took from this chapter. It's a very short chapter, by the way.
Yes, it was. Yes. 100%.
How about you? What were you able to grasp from this chapter?
So I, so obviously, I think you and I have spoken about something like this, like privately, about like using this type of tactic privately, like long time ago. So like the chapter was interesting, but what I was more interested in was why does this happen? Because logically, right? If you
Hmm.
think about it, and you tell me logically, if I did you a favor, or you did me a favor, and now I come back to say, hey, I need your help. And remember, I did this to you. Logically, it's like, oh yeah, he did me this big favor or this favor. Let me help him out as well. No
Yeah.
problem. And there shouldn't be an issue, right? But according to the chapter, what I'm understanding is that you
Hmm.
really can't guilt people to help you, but you can inspire them to helping you by showing them how they're gonna benefit from this. As you
Off
said,
helping you.
of helping me, because I'm gonna
Yeah.
leverage the self-interest component, right?
Yeah.
So I was interested, like, why does that happen, right? Like, why are we humans like that? So, yeah, you want to say something?
No, I feel
Oh,
like I feel us humans are like that, and I believe in healthy relationships. Maybe you wouldn't really encounter this,
mm-hmm,
uh, because you're more helping the person because you want to, because you love them,
mm-hmm,
because you desire to help them in any
mm-hmm,
problem that they're going through. I believe this has a lot to do with like business
mm-hmm.
in the real world.
in the real world. Okay,
I
gotcha.
mean, I'm sure it applies to family and relationships as well. Um, but
But you don't think the proportion is the same or the ratio is the same,
yeah,
correct?
I don't think the ratio is the same at all. No.
So it's interesting. So I did some research. I was looking through like psychology, the American Psychology Journal and the British Medical Journal, like different databases on this topic. I was interested. So interesting enough, I found something. There's something called the rational choice theory, where it basically says that humans make decisions based on cost benefit analysis, even in relationships. But now here comes the caveat. Even in relationships.
Okay. I so
So
I don't
here
want to interrupt you. I just have
no
something in mind. That's it.
oh, all right, so let me finish this and then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
hear because I think it's
Okay.
going to answer what you're thinking.
Okay.
So people usually think subconsciously through a subconscious filter, subconsciously they're thinking what's in it for me with this business partnership, this relationship, this friendship with this person, right? So people want to know what's the return of investment or what's going to be the return. But
What's my
here's it.
ROI?
Whoa, that's a big word. But yeah, what's the return of investment by me engaging in this? But again, a lot of this is subconscious. Now, here's the thing though. When people are thinking this, like let's say
hmm
in a relationship, what they want as a return is not always money or like a favor. It could also be spiritual, it could be emotional, it could be money, right? It could be a favor. It could be again, it could be so many things, but people sometimes forget like the spiritual component, the family oriented component, or even the emotional component. So maybe yes, I think you are right. How like in the real world or like in a business environment versus a relationship, you are thinking this maybe subconsciously. Maybe maybe in business is more conscious versus in a relationship it could be more subconscious.
Yeah.
But what you're expecting are completely different things. But according to this theory, the rational choice theory, all humans do this with everybody and with everything. Thoughts?
I agree. I agree for sure because I've even said it myself. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, everything in life is like transactional. Whether and then maybe it's not the best way to view life, but
Mm-hmm.
um everything is transactional, meaning if you give me something, if you give me trust, if you give me loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
if you give me those type of good qualities or that you share in a relationship, I will do the same as well, right? If
Okay.
you stop doing that, if you stop showing some type of loyalty towards me, then why would I continue to show loyalty towards you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's transaction in a sense. Okay, even I mean, this is how teamwork is in a sense in a marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take care of the household as just as a traditional example. I'll take care of the household, you take care of the kids. The moment you stop taking care of the household, not that I'm going to stop taking care of the kids, but it's like one one person has to do something to be able to balance the other one, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Right. And while with this other person focuses maybe on the kids, then we need someone else to focus on the money in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we're doing it because we love our kids and we want to continue, our family running, but we understand that the things that we are doing have a bigger purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gotcha.
our and I'm helping you out by taking care of the kids, and you're helping me out by taking care of the bills, right? In a
Mm.
sense, right? So this is transaction. We're both helping each other. If
Mm-hmm.
not, then I guess we'll go 50-50 on things, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we'll both be putting a part in everything in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? So that's why I was saying life is transactional, but it's very interesting that you mentioned the point. Sometimes we tend to ignore the gain that we could get out of it through the emotional side or through the relationship side
Mm-hmm.
or the emotion of it, right? Because like for example, oh man, if I do this favor for somebody, someone asks me for a favor. If I do this favor for somebody, I'll be able to gain more trust out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my gain. That's in a sense my self-interest,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh.
Um, the emotional side. Okay, this person asked me for a favor. It's the first time they asked me for a favor. Let me do it. My gain here is that I'm able to show this person that I'm trustworthy, or a person they
Mm-hmm.
can always depend on, right? So that's my gain.
Okay. Yeah.
Or sometimes even with you, I'm talking with you, and I mean this is more of a joke thing,
Mm.
but it's like, Aldous, can you help me with this? And if you do this, you'll be doing a good mitzvah, right? So
You do
so
say that a
it's
lot.
like,
That's true. Yeah.
right? So it's like, obviously it's a joke, but it's not at the same time, right? Because
Yeah.
if you do help me, you will be doing a good mitzvah in a sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You will gain some merit out of your help towards me.
Yeah.
But I'm using a
Spiritual.
spiritual gain for yourself,
Yes.
so you be able to help me, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right. So I feel like a lot of people will, maybe more people that are not involved in any type of pursue for the truth or religion,
Uh-huh.
or agnostic or atheist, right? Or just ignorant, would just like ignore that side of things, or that gain that you could potentially get,
Correct.
right?
Because they don't
Because
believe in it.
you don't believe in it, or maybe you don't pay so much attention to it. You're not so involved in it, therefore you might not even know the gain that you could get out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is true, with everything we are selfish
Creatures.
specimens.
No, no, but see, you're making the point that the book is saying. You're saying, like for
Yeah.
example, you tell me that, Aurus, if you help me with this, you're gonna get merit, right? With
Yeah.
God, with Hashem, right? Now, why are you telling me that? Because you know my psychology. You know that for me that is important, so that's why you'll use it.
Yes.
Later on in the book, for example, I mean, I'm gonna mention another
Yeah.
psychological
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
soon, but in the book he says, which by the way, I don't know if you realized, this chapter is saying get to know people's psychology so you can motivate them by
Mm,
their self-interest. And then literally the next chapter is about being a spy and asking indirect questions to know their desires and their fears and what they want and their values. So they go
yeah.
hand in hand. So it's true. If you get to know someone well, you know what's going to motivate them. And as you mentioned earlier, you don't want to be coming up front to them and say, hey, listen, I did you this favor. I'm a good guy. I did a favor for you. Do this for
Such a
me.
horrible way to do it too.
It is, and you know why? Because the person builds internal subconscious resentment. Because they're like, because as you mentioned, you're like, oh, what? You did it for a favor? Like you didn't do it genuinely? So, also interesting enough, there's another psychological thing that's working out here that we almost all humans do, or maybe all of us do it. It's called
Mm,
the gratitude fade factor, where basically people get used to getting good things, and right, because we get used to getting good things, we forget. For example, someone did you a favor, in about 2 weeks, you're gonna forget what happened, and then in a month, in your mind, you're going to rewrite the story of like, hey, he did this for me, but I remember doing something for him, and actually he gained more than I gained. Our brains just naturally do that, right?
really?
Where we forget a lot of things that people do for us because we think that, hey, but I'm successful, I'm this, I'm that, I know how to do this already, so I didn't even need his help. So we start to rebuild stories in our mind. So that is also a big component, um
Hmm.
right, um why you cannot approach people like that. But if you come in, for example, and you say, hey, Aaron, I need your help with this, and if we do this together, right, you're gonna gain $1 million, or you're gonna gain X, Y, and Z. The reason we got to go with that approach is because, first of all, when you say, hey, listen, if you can help me, if we do this together, you give the person autonomy. You give them like the feeling of freedom, like, hey, I don't have to do this if I don't want to. That's number one.
Yeah.
We also trigger, I don't know if it's like directly or indirectly, I didn't find the research, I couldn't find it, but we trigger dopamine and the person's brain, right?
Hmm.
But most importantly, you or me, we position ourselves as an asset and not as a moral burden to the person. So it's not like we're going to them and saying, "Hey, listen, you got to do this for me, man. Do you remember what I did? You remember? You remember?" So we're not a burden anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you save their whole family from a fire, then maybe you can use that card, maybe.
They not well, you might be in debt forever if someone did that for you.
So correct. So maybe if it's that big, maybe you can. But according to the book, you don't do that. And I think a good example, and the book gives, is on page 99.
With the
With
China.
yeah, with Genghis Khan,
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one.
where we see that this guy, his advisor, basically was always able to convince him to not kill, to not destroy the land of China. And he was able to always convince him because he knew his psychology. He knew the only thing that motivated this ruler was greed. That's the only
Yeah.
thing, was greed. So it's like, okay, if I can always make it about him and how he's gonna benefit in many ways, he will listen. And he did listen to he really did listen to him, and he loved him, right? So now for me, the most fascinating way to get someone's self-interest is on the last page, which is page 100, the reversal. And this is true. I've actually met people like this. Maybe you have.
Okay.
There are people out there. The only way you're going to motivate them is if you inflate their ego or you give them honor publicly, right? There's people out there that they want to give money, they want to help, right? But you got to make them seem as the superhero of the movie, right? Where you publicly put their name somewhere or on TV, like, hey, without this person, I would not be here. He donated $555 million and 28 cents to my project. So if it's right, again, there's so many things that can motivate people: greed, money, their family,
Hmm.
right? A spiritual component, as you mentioned before, right? They need to be the superhero of the movie, or they need to be the main character. So if you can really delve in and figure out what motivates them, I'm telling you, you're going to be invincible. And most people are always going to tell you yes. They're always going to tell you yes because subconsciously you triggered something that motivates them and want to make them do it.
No, you're 100% right. I do feel. I mean, I believe the reversal of this and the actual law, the observance of the law, are actually two one of the best ways to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do this, right? The opposite of bringing out the past on somebody, I believe that's erroneous. That's not something
Mm-hmm.
you should ever do. Just because I don't think you ever motivate somebody like that unless you could guilt them into
Yeah, I guess you could, right?
in a sense, right? But that would have to be someone that's not. I don't want to say intellectually smart, but but no, the best two ways would be either find something that could appeal to them in a way where they benefit off of it,
Yeah.
or make sure that the help that they provide to you, it is known out to
Mm-hmm.
the public, right? um even in times where like maybe there might be an event for you, but you have a few words to say, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned someone's name and all the
Mm.
help they've provided, right? That's in a sense giving um recognition to that person,
Mm-hmm.
and their gain is their reputation on the eyes of others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or right on, oh, okay, this guy is such a not only a blessed person but a very generous person that's able to help. We can see a pure example, and now this guy is talking so highly of this person. Therefore, their gain was more, towards the outside world, and you make them feel like a superior in a sense.
Mm. Okay.
Therefore, um, by doing that, those type of things, or making someone look good in front of the eyes of others,
Mm-hmm.
is where, okay, now this person is going to want to continue to help because of how you make them look, right?
Yeah, of course.
Either in front of business people, in front of their family. When you talk highly about someone, it definitely motivates them to want to do more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but it also says in the I'm not sure if you mentioned this actually. Uh, you must distinguish, and the reversal page 100. You
Uh-huh.
must distinguish the differences amongst powerful people and figure out what makes them tick.
Mm-hmm.
When they ooze greed, do not appeal to their charity. When they want to look charitable and noble, do not appear to their greed. So it just
Mm-hmm.
depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when it came to the China example with Genghis Khan,
Yeah.
he didn't care about culture. He just wanted to overtake the land. But his advisor would always tell him, "Listen, you could use these people um, to engineer to do certain stuff for you, right? Or you could just tax them, and you're gonna get something out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could get rid of what you need to get rid of, but we'll overtake the land. But how about you also do this,
Mm-hmm.
right?" And that motivated him to listen to him because of
Mm-hmm.
his greed, because he also um, saw self interest for himself. Is like, okay, I'll be able to get uh, more use out of taking over the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he found something that made him tick.
Mm-hmm.
While when someone wants to appear more like passive, I guess I
Mm-hmm.
would call it, or as a righteous person, like they say, someone noble, then that's when you don't appear to their greed. You should appear to their charity side of things on
Correct.
how
Yeah.
can you make them look
Mm-hmm.
in front of others, and give them a good name. Just as we studied before in previous laws, reputation is extremely important to protect
Mm-hmm.
it. And maybe by you doing that, you're protecting their reputation or enhancing their reputation in front of others.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, applying two laws.
Wow. You're connecting other laws now. But now
Yes.
I guess my question then, which I think this is gonna be a great bridge, a great segue, is okay. So
Okay.
if we're learning that we have to learn we have to learn what makes people tick, their personality, their psychology, then how do we learn what makes them tick, right? How do we do that? And that's law 14, which is
That's true. You pose as a friend and work as a spy.
oh yeah, oh
Which is
yeah.
true though, right? How do you get to that level? You have to, well, if you want to pose as a friend, but you
Uh-huh.
work as a spy, right? To be able
Uh-huh.
to get the help that you need, but make sure they get whatever they want as well, right?
Yes.
So, you want me to read it?
Yes, please. The judgment, yes.
Okay, so Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. The judgment is knowing about your rival is critical. Use spies to gather valuable information that will help you, that will keep you a step ahead. Better still, play the spy yourself. In polite social encounters, learn to probe as indirect ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. There is no occasion that is not an opportunity for artful spying.
Yep.
This was very interesting just because um it's telling you that when you want to get your way on stuff
Mm-hmm.
or obtain something, then you could use others to work as spies for you, or you
Mm-hmm.
could be the spy yourself,
Correct.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I apply it to real life in certain occasions where, like, you know, you might want to know what the other side is saying about you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to friend somebody that's on that side,
Mm-hmm.
right? And once you friend somebody on that side, you show them some type of trust, right? You could use the previous law and make sure they gain something out of a help that you want, and maybe that help is just information. And you pose as a friend, but while you're posing as that friend, as that trustworthy person, and making sure they continue to gain whatever they need,
Mm-hmm.
they're feeding you information at the same time, which in a sense is you being a spy.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Um, but I always felt like that can always like bite you in
Mm-hmm.
the ass because I believe I don't. I believe we've seen many times where like spies will play both sides.
Like in the movies, yeah.
Yeah, like in the movies where like, okay, I'm sending you to go do something, right? You're gonna go do it. You're coming back with me for information, but at the same, but you're not really working for me. You're working for the other team, and I'm thinking you're working for me, but you're feeding them more information,
Uh-huh.
and you are feeding me information, but just the necessary, right? Just the
Uh-huh.
adequate to keep me in the loop, keep us going, but lead us to dead ends or lead us to
Okay.
nowhere, right?
Uh-huh.
So because and that's the whole backfire of using somebody
Uh-huh.
as a spy. That's why he says in the judgment, like preferably do it yourself because you're
Uh-huh.
obviously not going to backfire on yourself. Either way, I do feel like most of us would probably use others because it's easier. It's an indirect way to obtain some type of information,
Uh-huh.
while doing it yourself could be a little bit more challenging. And you could definitely get caught up in doing it and become a very suspicious person towards, the people that you're trying to gain information out of.
Hmm. This sounds like you're writing a movie about spies. I don't like this is his debut manuscript of spies. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about the spying?
I mean, they give a fabulous story about Joseph Devine, I believe that's pronounced correctly, where
I don't know. Duveen, I'm probably I don't
Devine,
know.
right? Well,
Yeah, I don't even know.
he was basically the greatest art dealer during his time, right? And he collected a lot of art, but he wanted to make sure he got a certain client and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that client only bought for him. This client was called Melon. And therefore, what did he have to do? Well, he had to try to pose as a friend. And one of the best ways is to gather information. Therefore, it says in the story, for several years, he tracked his prey, learning the man's habits, tastes, and phobias. He even
Mm-hmm.
had people on his payroll
That worked for him.
that worked for him. Therefore, he could get to learn what he liked.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, he ended up getting what he wanted. Um, but all this took not only himself but working through others, getting to know somebody, therefore be able to accomplish the goal that he wanted.
Mm.
So not that he could have not been a real friend, but um there was a reason behind on why he wanted him to be, why he wanted to get to know him.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he just wanted him as a client.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore he used a lot others to be able to uh gain what he wanted.
Okay. That's true. Yeah. But from reading this, I know the example you just mentioned, he used spies, right? Um, but I feel like the chapter early on says like this is a way of doing it, but actually don't do this way because they can rat you out
Right.
or
I think it's still efficient though.
oh no, yeah, yeah, it probably is. It probably is. But I feel
Because
like
it it
uh-huh.
it depends. Like it depends if the people that work for you know your intention,
Hmm.
conceal your intention.
I think that's one of the other
One of the
laws, right?
laws, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can have someone work for you, but you don't necessarily, either through payroll or not, right?
Uh-huh.
But you can have someone work for you and hide your intention
Uh-huh.
and just act like quote unquote dumb on why you're asking certain questions, or you could play the naive card,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why I'm like, it could be very efficient. I just think it depends the person, the person you're talking to,
Mm-hmm.
and if they know your intentions or not.
Hmm.
What do you
I
think? Either way, the
yeah.
best way is doing it yourself.
I mean, he does say
I agree that.
in page 101, better still play the spy yourself. So I would say this. When I
It's just
read
the
this,
most common way. That's it.
yeah, it is more common. Yeah. When I read this chapter, it made me think of mentalism, right? Like a magician, right? there, and obviously, I showed you a lot of, like, a lot of the tricks and techniques behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's certain tricks that the mentalist or the magician can accomplish because he has an accomplice in the audience. And the spy that he has to, for himself helps him to give information so he can like read minds, right? But a lot of the times, the best way to do mentalism or to read minds, quote unquote, or to do a trick is to do it yourself so you don't have to rely on others because there's so many external factors that can happen where then you won't have that person. Now, right? Or something will happen to the person, then they can't help you anymore. Now, um, what I learned here, for me, the most important thing here was in page 101, the judgment says you want to ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. Because a lot of times
Hmm.
people are like an open book. So I guess my question, and I got a couple tactics that I remember talking about years ago when I used to talk about communication, right? It's
Hmm.
how do you ask people indirect questions without revealing your intention and without you being obvious? Because once you're obvious and people know that you're trying to get information, your reputation has gone down and it's very difficult to fix it, right? So for example, a couple techniques that I thought of and that I wrote down
Hmm.
just like the names of it, and then you can tell me what you think.
Hmm.
The first thing that came to my mind was something called a projection question. A projection question. Have you heard of that before?
I believe so, yes.
I think we've spoken about it, but I
Yeah.
don't think I gave this example. So I'll give you an example that I wrote. So, for example, a projection question is a great way to ask an indirect question to find out their values and desires. For example, you could ask, let's say you're in a networking event or business event or something, and you can ask the guy you're speaking to or the person, do you think people in your industry are motivated by ego or security? Right? You ask him this. So now, when the person answers the question, even though the question is not about them, it's not about them, it's about this hypothetical person or people, the way they're going to answer this question more likely than not is going to be based off their own mindset. So even though you ask them a question
Hmm.
about other people, they're going to give you an answer on what they're thinking. So maybe they'll tell you, "Oh yeah, I think people in my industry are very motivated by ego
Hmm.
because of X, Y, and Z. This is what I've seen in my experience or when I build my company and so forth." Now you know what he's thinking. Or maybe what motivates him, right? Or maybe right? What motivates him is ego. So now you know, okay, he's motivated by ego because he's answering based off his own mindset. So now what can I do now? Asking that keep continue to ask indirect questions and then maybe use law 13 to help you out. So that's one way of doing it, right? And what's interesting is if you look at the question, not only I'm giving you a question based off your own mindset, but I'm also giving you a limited choice. So it's either this or this, right? So you have
So
to
you're
make a
putting you're
decision.
you're putting things like black and white.
Yes, like black and white, but I'm also forcing you to make a decision because when I force you to make a decision, you got to give me what's the bigger thing in your mindset, right? You have to choose. You have
Hmm.
to, right? Unless he's like none, and then he gives you a different answer, which is also good because now you know something else. Another tactic is called the I wrote down it's called the hypothetical dilemma. So for example, I don't know. Like you could ask them, "Oh, what would you do if you got $1 million or $10 million today?" Right? What
Hmm.
is the first thing you would do? So I'm throwing you a hypothetical situation. It's not real, but I'm throwing you one. And in this case, I said money is not a problem anymore now, right? It's not a problem because you have the money now. So what is it that you would do with the money, right? Now, what's interesting is that this question reveals your values and your desires. What is it that you really want and what do you really value internally? Because now money's not a problem. It's not a constraint. It's not an
Yeah.
obstacle. So I get to find out more about you. And I think the last thing I would say is I also, if you can, try to have them tell you stories, right? The best way to be a conversation, and we've spoken about this, and it's also based off the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. The best way to be a conversationalist is to get other people speaking about themselves. When people talk about themselves, they feel good. And a lot of the times when people have a conversation with others, a lot of the times the content of the conversation is not remembered. It's not. But what is remembered is the feeling you gave them. How did they
Yes,
feel
true.
talking to you? So if they felt good because you let them talk about themselves and they're telling stories about their lives, you can get a lot of ideas. You can find out their weaknesses, their desires and values based off the stories and what they're telling you. Thoughts?
No, I definitely agree. Even the book talks about like suppressing your own
Yeah.
personality. You can make them reveal more things about themselves, which is true.
Yeah.
I definitely agree on the part where like it's how you make someone feel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And based on what they're gonna remember. And uh, there are many ways to like. Sometimes you could use outside world events because
Mm-hmm.
you could all this you could like plan ahead in a sense. You get the point
Kind of,
is
yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of right. You could because it says this in this chapter. Yes, in the realm of this power and the keys to power on page 103, your goal
Mm-hmm.
is a degree of control over future events.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Part of the problem you face then is that people won't tell you all their thoughts, emotions, and plans. So
Yes.
to be able to see what the future can hold, right? And you could do this through indirect questions or like what's happening in the real world, right?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you want to get to know somebody, what they think about, or just to get to know where they stand, maybe
Mm-hmm.
in morally, ethically, and stuff like that. Well, you could use an outside event that's happened and be like, what do you think about, this war? Like, oh, did you watch the news today? And like, you might not be able to see where I'm going through by asking you these questions.
Uh-huh.
Where like I'm asking you about an event, not just because I saw it in the news and to make small talk. You might think that, but I'm actually asking you these questions because I want to see where you stand,
Mm.
right? And uh instead of like going straight up to you and being like, "Do you think it's right, A or B?" And
Yeah.
like, no,
Like, whoa, whoa. Yeah.
well that now you've closed the door where like I could potentially feel uncomfortable, and you're asking me a very hard topic that I'm not too comfortable sharing about. And maybe I won't give you the whole truth of how I feel, right?
Uh-huh.
While if sometimes you don't have to plan things ahead, sometimes just things happen. And then you could like, if your mind is like working overtime, you could connect it to you
Which
could
law?
connect you could connect it to something you want to learn about this person, right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
Or something you're spying about, right? According to the law. So use and I've done this in my life before where like you use like an outside event or you use small talk as a little thing, and then you could through the answers they give you you can expand more and then get to see where they stand.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll give you a direct answer because maybe they feel comfortable, and if they don't, they'll give you a more like subtle answer, nothing too in detail, but you're still able to grab something like, oh, really,
Mm.
like what do you mean by that, like, and just I don't know how to. I'm trying my best to
No, no,
be
I
able to
see.
describe it right now.
Uh-huh.
Um, but there are tactical ways either to use in the outside world or even
Mm-hmm.
you could use yourself. The book talks about it in a way where you could post fake things that happen
Mm-hmm.
to you, right? Like
Yeah.
if I want to get something out of my work, I could come to work pissed off, and I'm not actually pissed off, but I'm pissed off, right? And just
Uh-huh.
like in a mood, and then everything okay. Ah, just something I'm going through. It's tough, and usually many people be like, "Oh, you okay? Like you want to
Yeah.
talk about it?" Well, this and that happened. You make up something, right?
Uh-huh.
And then by you putting yourself in a vulnerable, quote unquote,
Uh-huh.
position, you're showing some type of trust towards the person that you're willing to share the story with.
Uh-huh.
But there's an intention behind that because obviously, maybe it is a real story. Maybe it's a fake story. Maybe it's something that happened over a year ago. Maybe it's something you're currently going through, but you don't really care about it so much, but you're making it seem like you care about it, right?
Uh-huh.
But using that, you could get something out of someone else. Um, I can't think of an example of what you want to get out of that person,
Okay.
but depending on what you want to get out of that person, using a self experience thing
Uh-huh.
or a made up, but showing some type of vulnerability, some type uh, of trust towards that person, obviously it being fake, you could get information out of them, or be a spy in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you're using that fake story or that vulnerability of yours as a cover up.
Got you. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're basically saying, yeah, you're right, the book does say that. So you're saying basically, tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Hmm.
Let's say you're trying to find out some information, or you want the other person to open up. So you're saying, Aaron Vera is saying, you go to say, hey, and like whatever, you're like distressed, stressed out. Hey man, Aaron, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing okay. Just like, I'm going through some stuff. Oh man, is there anything I can do to help you? Are you okay? And you're like, well, now that you mention it, I mean, listen, maybe don't tell anyone. I kind of trust you, but like I'm going through X, Y, and Z. And I got angry at the person, and then we got into a fight, and just I don't know. Do you know what? Do you understand me? Or like, have you gone through something similar? Boom, maybe it's true or not. You're saying, and then on top of that, you kind of told them like, hey, listen, I trust you. Don't say anything. So then maybe psychologically you kind of engage the reciprocal effect where now they can open up to you because you were vulnerable with them. They're gonna do the same with you now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. It gives them full. Yeah, in by pretending to bare your heart to another person, in other words, you make them more likely to reveal their own secrets.
Mm.
104, page
Okay.
104,
Which paragraph?
paragraph one, two, three, four, in the
Okay.
middle.
Okay. Okay. I got it. Uh huh.
By pretending to bare your heart to another person, in other words, you make them more likely to reveal their own secrets. Give them a false confession, and they will give you a real one.
Uh huh.
In their emotional reaction, they will reveal all kinds of truths about themselves, truths you can later use against them. So, like you said,
Interesting.
it's like I don't. I thought of an example in my head. I don't even want to say it because it's such a bad example, but yeah, it's such a bad example.
So if you want to say it, go ahead. If you don't want to say it, you don't have to say it.
It's like, okay, wow, it's such a bad example. I don't want people to see me as
As what? As what?
I don't want people to see me as a sneaky person or something just popped in my head, because this is what people do, right? And maybe just because of my own life experience or what I've gone through,
Okay.
that I'm able to put this together one and one. So fuck it. I guess I'm gonna just say it. But it's like you said, because when you did that whole acting, I was like, oh, I'm just going through this, but now that you mention it, boom, boom, boom. Like, and let's say you're giving a marriage a problem, right?
Okay.
Yeah, my girl, and she does this, she does that. Like, I don't know how you do it, right? No, no, no. Meaning like,
Uh
I don't
huh.
know how you do it, because for me, this whenever I do this, it never works. I don't know if you do it the same way, or how your girl is.
Ah, okay. I just saw what you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In
Yeah.
a sense, I could mean that
You sneaky bastard.
naively.
Uh
I can mean that naively, in a sense where, like, I'm just really trying to see how you do stuff,
huh. Uh huh.
right? Just because maybe my way of working isn't efficient.
Uh huh.
But now I want to, but my real intention is, and I never do this, guys. It's just
But
something that
people
popped
have
in my
done this
head.
to you, though. People have done this
People
to you.
maybe have done this to me, or I'm such a great person that I would never do this. Um,
He's so humble. Wow.
how do you do this with your girl, right?
Uh
Like,
huh.
and stuff like that, because maybe this person has already told you they have a girl. This and that.
Uh huh.
oh well, you know, me and her usually do this, is that, and now you're starting to gain information about this
Mhm.
other person's, partner and what they
Uh-huh.
like, what they don't like, right? Being a spy, in a sense, and that's just step one. You could
Uh-huh.
take it to step two on like, yo, I the next day. By the way, I worked on the tactic that you did, and I implemented it, and it worked out. So thank you for that. Like, um,
Uh-huh.
how how long have you been, doing that with her? This and
Uh-huh.
that. Like, and then you get, oh, where's she from? Oh, cool. And then like you can get so much out of somebody just by
Yeah.
playing a vulnerable, just by being vulnerable with them,
Yeah.
by just putting a mask, because it literally said in the chapter, give them a false confession and they will give you a real one, right?
Uh-huh.
By pretending to bear your own heart to another person, you can make them reveal their own secrets. And someone's so naive, they could be like, you know what? Let me give you an experience of one time I did with her. Or one time she did something to me, and this is how I handled it, right? So
Uh-huh.
like you're getting, by you using a fake vulnerability way of getting to know somebody, or them getting to know you, you could get to know them, because in most cases they're not going to give you a fake scenario back, because they don't know you're giving them a fake scenario, so they're going to give you a real scenario,
Unless they read this book beforehand.
unless they read this book, right. uh, I'm pretty sure not even 20% of the population have read this book, but you can
Uh-huh.
gain a lot, and when you're armed with these stuff, it's yeah, it says armed with it, you can predict their actions in the future. So
Now, one interesting thing I kind of noticed, which you didn't mention, or maybe you wanted to mention it, on what you just did, like the whole acting
because you
thing,
just reminded me of something, but yeah, go for it.
is when you said, which by the way, this is also a little nuance to the tactic you're talking about. When out of nowhere you were like, I don't know how you do it, right? Now, if you really look at that sentence, maybe this person never told you how they did it, because you're making it sound like I don't know how you do it, like you make
Like
them
we've never even
sound.
spoken about this.
Yeah, we never spoke about it. So why are you asking me? I don't know how you do it. But the way you could say it too, like for example, like, but how do you do it? It's like, okay, I'm asking now, versus like let's say with the tone of voice, and I'm gonna change it, and I'm like, but like, I don't know how you do it, right? So like it's different because the second one, the latter, is like clearly I'm messing up. You're clearly doing a better job than me. But a lot of the times, right? Maybe that person never told you anything, but because the way you said it with your tone of voice, you put them like on a pedestal now. So it's like, oh yeah, I am better at this. So let me tell you how I do it. Now you're like appealing to their ego. You're appealing to like, oh, you're clearly better than me in this because I don't know how you do it because I'm messing up here. I don't know if you
Yeah,
also meant to add that
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Oh, you did, right?
Because like, yeah, you're you're messing up here, and they're like, oh no, they'd be like, no, I'm not perfect. Like this happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and just by them feeling bad that maybe you feel like you're constantly messing up, they'll make you feel better, in a
Yeah.
sense, by telling that, by then now them telling you an experience of where they went bad, right? And now
Yes.
you've gathered more information about them that
Yes.
you could potentially use against them,
Yes.
because they showed a vulnerable side, or you could use their partner or their friend on the information that you just found out, right, about
Uh-huh.
what they told you, and then use it against them, be like, yo, and then you go to the other friend, be like, yeah, I heard about this, I heard about that, I don't know,
Uh-huh.
right? Then you start to play tricks and put shit in people's minds just by the little bit of information that you were gathering, by posing as a friend but acting like a
Uh-huh.
spy. So
I could even see like people using these tactics to like steal other people's like partners, bro, which is so messed up.
that's kind of what I was like.
Oh, that's what you were hinting, right?
That's what I was kind of hinting at. Like,
Uh,
you, I just seen
say,
so much shit,
please expand, sir. Like,
and it's like if you're not safe or in a good friend group or in a good safe environment, when it comes to even family and stuff like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the shit that people can put in your head, a lot of people act like spies subconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, with the intentions of obtaining what you have.
Yes.
And that could be through business, that could be through a relationship, friendships, all that. And they pose as a friend, but their intention all along was to obtain something you have, or to get something, right? And that might have been a long journey, that might have been a short journey, but all that involved them potentially giving fake scenarios, them potentially showing some type of vulnerability, them potentially, um, you know, sharing their experiences with you. But all along, their intentions were bad. Therefore, you got to be careful with people that try to pose as these friends, but try to obtain other stuff because all along they were spy.